Welcome to another. Oh yeah, welcome to another Cloud Foundry on Kubernetes Working Group Forum. I'll post a link to the document in the chat. People can add any items as they wish that we can discuss. We don't currently have any items on the agenda, so hopefully you can come up with them quickly if you have things you want to discuss. But if not, we can just quickly say hi to everyone, and of course we have this bi-weekly, so anything that you think of can be addressed at the next meeting. It is something we can get started with. So why don't we do that while people are typing? So Phil's noting that a v0.9 release of Korifi is out with a little ta-da emoji.
Woot woot. Yeah, it was more of just I think Georgi and Danny, you guys did the heavy lifting on this, so definitely appreciate it. Maybe Ram for you, just I don't know if you caught wind of it or whatnot, but Docker support and all that fun stuff. Planning out what's going to be for 0.10. I think we still got a couple balls in the air on what we want to do next, but would be interested to hear if people have thoughts on what is next. Hot on the tail of celebration of 0.9. Let's think about 0.10.
Yeah, we'll have to see what's realistic to get in. There is the item I mentioned last meeting about a few enhancements around the roles for user service accounts, making sure the RBAC makes sense. So that'll probably be staged for the next release.
I think that
sorry, go ahead.
I think that our ICP colleagues are interested into, actually there are a couple of them, to make it official to be able to bring your own networker. This means that we should probably design some proper extension points where people can disable Contour and bring their own. They're especially looking for Istio. And they're also interested into consuming managed services. This is a topic that we've been discussing for quite a long time. Maybe we can start with a proposal or something. We have our internal prototype that manages to consume SAP managed services, but of course it is not good enough for any managed services. We're thinking that maybe the proposal can be something minimalistic, like to not support managed services out of the box, but if you plug your own, managed services extension, then go for it.
Yeah, that could be an interesting track of work to explore. Definitely, I can see the networking being something people that they might want to swap in different components, because I know they don't always play nice with each other and people might be running a bunch of different things on the cluster. So let's see, make some notes.
I would definitely advocate for managed services. It's something that a lot of people have asked. It's something that we've discussed in the past about what are one of the bigger missing pieces of this whole Korifi in general, and services did come up as one of the things, because if we want to take it toe to toe with what the Cloud Foundry experience essentially is, then I think services is a big part of it. And I know you, Birdrock, showed us a little bit about user services, user provided services. I don't know if that's the approach we want to take, or I would also like to get into the distinction between what are managed services versus user provided services, or are we talking about like the CF marketplace? In which case, then yes, if there's something we can do to improve services overall, then I would put my vote there as well.
Yeah, we do have some support for binding your own services in right now, but it's not a managed marketplace setup. So I think that's more the direction that people want to go, where they actually can spin up services based on some commands rather than just sort of creating it ad hoc and then binding it in. Certainly an interesting track of work. Need to probably, as said, have a proposal and define what it means. But worthwhile pursuing for sure. All right. I think we'll probably move on to the next item unless someone wants to comment further. All righty. There's an item about a Korifi Installer Job, a pull request.
Yeah, we actually have been thinking about this for a long time because there has been issues when people were trying to install Korifi on their local machine in order to kick the tires, see what it is. Because installation is not very straightforward, and also we're feeling this sort of pain every time we want to release, because we need to go through the steps, at least for the kind cluster, if not for Amazon and GCP. So we thought maybe there is an easier way to install a local Korifi that's running with a local registry, like everything contained in your dev machine. And we had a conversation with an SAP colleague who is actually also on the in the TOC in Beihan, and he has a lot of knowledge in classical CF. So we're talking maybe he can provide valuable feedback for Korifi if it feels too different from CF, or like if certain things are missing. We asked him to also play around with the newly released Docker support, and he said he'll be willing to, but he doesn't have a lot of time, and he was unwilling to install Korifi because last time it wasted a lot of time for him. So we were able to put up, actually in a single day, we put up a job that you apply on your kind cluster. You still have to create your kind cluster, but then you simply apply a job, and it pretty much does what our development script does. Install certain dependencies. There's the job runs with the job runs from a Docker image that we're building that contains dependencies like Helm, kubectl, everything that you need, and also the Korifi repository, and it installs the latest release, which right now is 0.90. We posted this in channel, but I just thought it might be interesting to raise it here as well. We will be interested to hear feedback on this, like if people want to try it. We also we sent this to the guy who wrote the Korifi tutorials a couple of months ago, and he said he would try it and come back at us. So I just wanted to use this forum as another place where we can advertise this and ask for people's thoughts and for feedback. Because if people like it, and some of our colleagues in SAP seem to really like it, we could probably merge it and have it in for next release, so that people can so that 0.10.0 can be very easy to install, and even 0.90 in this sense, because the script the job doesn't have to be released. Once we merge it, we can give it to people. We already did that, actually. Like, there was some guy on the channel who are asking questions about Korifi, kubectl, like he was sort of trying to find the best environment for his experiment. So I gave him this new simple installer, and he didn't have any issues installing Korifi, which is a good output in itself.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I'll have to take it for a spin myself, sort of pretend I'm a person walking in with no knowledge and see how easy it is to set up. Always like improvements to that user experience. So yeah, I think as long as we make sure there aren't any unforeseen issues, then it would be a great addition to the next release. And as you said, getting in the main branch would allow it to deploy existing branches as well.
Yeah, we hope that there won't be many issues because we intentionally kept it too simple. Everything is hard coded so that you simply install something on a local client with the local Foundry registry. So yeah, once we start to parameterize this, like because we have thought about this in the past, it quickly becomes very complicated. So we just wanted to add something that simple that will save some struggling for our users simply when they're kicking the tires. Because if you want to install this thing on Amazon or GCP, this approach might not work too well or might not work at all, but this doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a quick one-liner to get something up and running while we're evaluating it or stuff like that. And actually giving this to Beihan, we managed to, I guess the next day or the day after, we got some feedback. He opened some issues, so that's already some output from that.
Yeah, I think I saw an email notification about an issue. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but awesome. Sounds great. Cool. So next item, unless there are more comments. All right. Insecure Docker registries config.
Yeah, this is an outcome of an issue, one of the issues that Beihan opened. So in Cloud Foundry, you have the possibility to configure, don't know whether it's Diego or Garden or both, with insecure Docker registries, meaning Docker registries whose certificate is not trusted or they are served on HTTP, stuff like this. It turned out that in Kubernetes, it's quite hard to configure such registries because this is how Kubernetes works. So just a general question, do we want to even try to support such registries? Do you see that we have a use case where people may want to use such registries, like self-hosted or using self-signed certificates or something similar?
So I think we already support self-signed certificates, right? We just don't support self-signed certificates where you don't know the CA, right? Like it's really, so basically we just don't support the totally insecure trust anybody configuration.
No, I'm not saying trust anybody, but trust this server. So for example, I remember that in Garden, we didn't even check the layers SHAs for insecure registries because it's trusted.
Right, but I guess the distinction would be, if you don't check the CA at all, then you're just open to man in the middle attacks, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So
but we
I
had
think there's
the
a reason
option in
Kubernetes
CF
doesn't bother to support it.
Yeah, I wonder whether there are some use cases that were needed for Cloud Foundry for VMs. I mean, why is that feature available there?
It's easier.
Yeah,
This is actually harder because you need to configure something more. I mean, you need to add it to the list of insecure registries and.
Yeah, those are a couple of Bosch properties that you have to configure. But the question is, why do we have them at all?
Hmm.
That's a good question.
If people are not sure, I guess my instinct will be to not support them until somebody asks, because it sounds like a bad idea. I'm not entirely sure what, like, because registries can, for example, not support HTTPS at all. Like they might serve plain HTTP, and these are also regarded as insecure. But I guess we don't want to care about this as well, because I don't see a productive use case that we want to do this. So maybe we can just ignore them for now.
Yeah, my instinct is if Kubernetes is kind of staying away from it, then we might want to be careful about it. It does mean that we wouldn't have parity with the traditional Cloud Foundry approach, but it could be a little bit dangerous to allow that. Unless someone is requesting it, then like if someone has a really good reason for it, then we can approach it again. But if we're just looking to support it because someone noticed that we didn't, then it might not be wise to pursue it too much.
Talking about parity with Cloud Foundry, the newly released Docker push support is not on par. It by default doesn't support images that are configured to run as the root user, which are most of the images in Docker Hub, because as of today, user namespaces are not really properly supported in Kubernetes. This will change actually in the near future, I guess. They have started. I think it's already available as an alpha or beta, not sure, but it's not. You can't rely on it yet. But sometime in the future, because they keep the version rotation pretty tight, we might be able to get this support, use user namespaces the way we did in CF, and then we'll be able to push every image. But I guess, yeah, if we're not on par with, because of security, I guess that's a good reason.
Yeah. Of note, in CF for K8s, we also didn't support the full set of features for Docker. We had some restrictions on the user that the images ran. So that at least is consistent. We're not going backwards. So yeah. At least we have some of the Docker support, and yeah, I think the feeling is if you're running images directly, you should be able to control the user that they're run with. And root is generally not a great idea. But maybe there's someone that has a really compelling use case, but I have yet to see one.
We had a short discussion about this thing with one of our product people at SAP, and he said, this is insecure, and if our users have to learn these lessons the hard way, let's be it, meaning that we'll have to make them change their Docker files to build the Docker images to run with something that is not root.
Yeah, I think the advice is always to not run as root. You do like whatever setup you need as root, and then switch it. Like the actual run user should be a user that is less privileged. I know it's frustrating for people to have to make those modifications, especially if they just want to run a sample app, but I would err on the side of security on that. Alrighty. Some good thoughts on that. I'm going to move to the next item on the agenda. We have a global online meetup link. Looks like a YouTube link.
Yeah, I posted that one. If folks are interested, that's a demo of Epinio. I think a lot of the Epinio team can be traced back to the CF for Kate's contributors who are at SUSE. And so they managed to build a platform around Kubernetes, and they can now do an Epinio push on their favorite apps, which then deploys to Kubernetes. So I don't want to necessarily label it as competition, but there's yet another instance out there of known people in the community back in the day who've managed to put together a platform that can do a single command deploy to Kubernetes. So if folks are interested in seeing a demo of it, that's the link. I got the demo live. It was pretty interesting. They had good coverage in terms of being able to demonstrate app capability, and they use Paketo build packs incidentally for the build. And they had some notion of managed services and things like that. So it was nice to see how far along they've gotten as well. So yeah, if other folks are interested, do take a look.
Cool. Thanks for the link. Definitely worth checking out, seeing what other people are doing in the space. All righty. That is the end of our agenda. If there are any last minute items that people want to add, then throw it on the board really quickly.
I just had a question about folks attending KubeCon. So much like the previous years, the Cloud Foundry Foundation booth has sign-up slots. There's complimentary KubeCon passes for those who sign up for the most slots. So if you're interested in attending and you'd like to volunteer at the Cloud Foundry booth, please do sign up.
Sounds good. Thank you for the reminder, Ron. That's coming up in the not too distant future. So if you want to do that, definitely get on it. I believe it is in Chicago. So if you're in that region of the world, then it seems like a really good opportunity. If not, you'll have to consider travel and all that stuff. But speaking of someone that's done that before and worked the booth, it's a fun experience, and you get to talk to people and try to field some questions and whatnot. So yeah. Oh, and looks like we're going to have a link shortly. But yes, check the document for the link if you want to sign up. I know it would be appreciated, and it's a fun experience. So I definitely encourage it if you can make it. Awesome. Well, thank you all for attending. And if you think of anything in the interim between now and 2 weeks from now, just pull up the document and add it in as a future topic, and we'll discuss it there, or you can always drop it in the Korifi Dev channel on Slack. So again, thanks. I'll see y'all in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.